Today is March 11th, 2026, and this is Read Through the Bible.
Hi, everyone.
And we just haven't even talked about you being back from
right.
From California.
We just kind of picked up where we left off and carried on, but I got back late Saturday night, actually early Sunday morning.
It was the time change. And so you got in here at like a little after 1 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Which is really 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right, but for me, I also was dealing with, I was on California time, so I was, getting up Sunday morning for church was tough, but pushed through and made it.
Yeah, and so you came back early Sunday morning, and David came back.
David came home Sunday night.
Yep.
So David is home with us this week. It's great to have him here.
Yeah, it's been very nice.
He has some chilly weather. It's not very nice, warm spring break weather. But,
so we're not out taking a walk today. We are inside today, and we're going to read 2 chapters in Ezra. Ezra chapter 3 and chapter 4. And you like in your summaries of Ezra, have been doing some micro summaries.
Very micro, yes.
So let's just, very micro summaries.
Mm-hmm.
So just remember from yesterday, right? This was when Cyrus, the Lord stirred Cyrus' heart to issue a proclamation, rebuild the house. And what did you say?
I wrote Cyrus's decree.
Yep. And then chapter 2, that was a list of the exiles who returned to Jerusalem. And you just said?
I wrote return.
Okay. And then chapter 3, we have just the exiles are building the altar and laying the foundation of the temple.
So I have altar and foundation.
Okay. And then we're also going to read chapter 4, which is Zerubbabel and Joshua, like they're rejecting the help of the local people. And then Artaxerxes writes back, like as I say, hey, should this work stop? And he says it should stop. And you just wrote...
My word is stop.
Stop. Okay, so altar, foundation, chapter 3, and stop in chapter 4.
Yep, and remember this is in the section of 1 through 6 that's all about Zerubbabel's return and Zerubbabel leading the people to rebuild the temple.
Yep.
And then there's a break, and 7 through 10 is Ezra, like 50 plus years after.
Yeah, I have 60-ish years, something like that. Okay, so we're in chapter 3, altar and foundation. So just listen for those two things. When the 7th month came, and the children of Israel were in the towns, the people gathered as one man to Jerusalem. Then arose Joshua, the son of Jozadak, with his fellow priests, and Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, with his kinsmen, and they built the altar of the God of Israel, to offer burnt offerings on it, as is written in the law of Moses, the man of God. And so the very first thing they did, the very first priority, the center of this town is going to be this altar. So they didn't have the houses in Jerusalem, but they had this altar.
They didn't even have the whole temple. They just the most important part was these sacrifices.
Yeah,
so.
And maybe they learned from the book of 2 Chronicles about the priority of the temple.
I think so.
And the throne.
Yep.
So they set the altar in its place, for fear was on them because of the peoples of the land, and they offered burnt offerings on it to the Lord. Burnt offerings morning and evening. Yeah.
They had an attitude of dependence.
Yeah, fearing what the people of the land might say if you're worshiping Yahweh again. And they kept the Feast of Booths, as is written, and offer the daily burnt offerings by number according to the rule as each day required. And this goes back to Leviticus, the daily offerings and the weekly offerings and all that was done. They did that there, exactly right. And verse 5, and after that the regular burnt offerings, the offerings at the new moon, and all the appointed feasts of the Lord, and the offering of everyone who made a freewill offering to the Lord. From the first day of the 7th month they began to offer burnt offerings to the Lord, but the foundation of the temple of the Lord was not yet laid. So they gave money to the masons and the carpenters, and food and drink and oil to the Sidonians and the Tyrians, to bring cedar trees from Lebanon to the sea, to Joppa, according to the grant that they had from Cyrus, king of Persia. Remember, it was this Persian decree from Cyrus that said, go rebuild Jerusalem.
And here's money
and
for
funding
you.
Here's money. And so they rebuilt the altar first. Now they're going to altar and then foundation.
Verse 8. Now in the 2nd year, after their coming to the house of God at Jerusalem, in the 2nd month, Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, and Joshua, the son of Jozadak, made a beginning, together with the rest of their kinsmen, the priests and the Levites, and all who had come to Jerusalem from the captivity. They appointed the Levites from 20 years old and upward to supervise the work of the house of the Lord.
But let's check here how much Levitical language is in here, how much it sounds like Leviticus. They're just following the Levitical laws. 20 years and upward is what the priests are.
Verse 9, and Joshua with his sons and his brothers, and Kadmiel with his sons, the sons of Judah, together supervised the workmen in the house of God, along with the sons of Henadad and the Levites, their sons and brothers.
And when the builders laid the foundation of the temple of the Lord, the priests in their vestments came forward with trumpets, and the Levites, the sons of Asaph, with cymbals to praise the Lord according to the directions of David, the king of Israel. And they sang responsively, praising and giving thanks to the Lord. This famous phrase of what they sing, for he is good, for his steadfast love endures forever toward Israel. And the people shouted with a great shout, and when they praised the Lord, because the foundation of the house of the Lord was laid. But many of the priests and the Levites and the heads of the fathers' houses, old men who had seen the first house, wept with a loud voice when they saw the foundation of this house being laid, though many shouted aloud for joy. So the people could not distinguish the sound of the joyful shout from the sound of the people's weeping. For the people shouted with a great shout, and the sound was heard far away. That's an interesting reaction. I think the reaction is the old people knew the first temple and saw this was going to be not quite as big. Not quite as fantastic.
Somewhere else it says that.
Yeah, I think it says it in Haggai. That's what it says.
Right, and that means they were very old. So
Yeah.
if they had been in exile for 70 years, they were very young when they were taken away as exiles, and they were very old when they go back.
Yep.
It's amazing they made the trip back.
Yep. Okay, this is called Stop. Chapter 4.
This is stop. Okay. Now, when the adversaries of Judah and Benjamin heard that the returned exiles were building a temple to the Lord, the God of Israel, they approached Zerubbabel and the heads of the fathers' houses and said to them, "Let us build with you, for we worship your God as you do, and we have been sacrificing to him ever since the days of Esarhaddon, king of Assyria, who brought us here." So if Esarhaddon, the king of Assyria, brought them there, those were those people who came from Assyria and came to settle the land, and then wild beasts attacked them. And so then the Assyrians sent back an Israelite priest to teach them the worship of God, and then they mixed it.
Yeah.
And so they did a little bit of a mixture. So yes, they worshipped God, but not completely.
Yeah, but also I think when they set this altar in the place, the fear was on them, chapter 3, verse 3, because the peoples of the land. So even though they had some worship of the in name, Yahweh, they weren't like true. Yeah.
No. So verse 3, but Zerubbabel, Jeshua, and the rest of the heads of the fathers' houses in Israel said to them, they saw it for what it was. They said, "You have nothing to do with us in building a house to our God, but we alone will build to the Lord, the God of Israel, as King Cyrus, the king of Persia, has commanded us."
Then the people of the land discouraged the people of Judah and made them afraid to build and bribed counselors against them to frustrate their purpose. All the days of Cyrus, king of Persia, even until the reign of Darius, king of Persia.
And in the reign of Ahasuerus, in the beginning of his reign, they wrote an accusation against the inhabitants of Judah and Jerusalem.
Okay, so as the ESV setting says, this is a letter to King Artaxerxes. So Cyrus has passed. They still haven't made much progress because of the local troubles, and they're trying to get the king from afar to say stop, and that's what happened. So in the days of Artaxerxes, Bishlam and Midrathath and Tabiel and the rest of their associates wrote to Artaxerxes, king of Persia. The letter was written in Aramaic and translated. Rehum, the commander, and Shimshai, the scribe, wrote a letter against Jerusalem to Artaxerxes, the king, as follows. Rehum, the commander, Shimshai, the scribe, and the rest of the associates, the judges, the governors, the officials, the Persians, the men of Erech, the Babylonians, the men of Susa, that is, the Elamites, and the rest of the nations, whom the great and noble Osnappar deported and settled in the cities of Samaria and in the rest of the province beyond the river. This is a copy of the letter that they sent. Quote, "To Artaxerxes, the king, your servants, the men of the province beyond the river send greetings. And now be it known to the king that the Jews who came up from you to us have gone to Jerusalem. They are rebuilding that rebellious and wicked city. They are finishing the walls and repairing its foundations. Now be it known to the king that if this city is rebuilt and the walls are finished, they will not pay tribute, custom, or toil, and the royal revenue will be impaired. Now, because we eat the salt of the palace, and it is not fitting for us to witness the king's dishonor, therefore we send and inform the king, in order that search may be made in the book of the records of your fathers. You will find in this book of the record and learn that this city is a rebellious city, hurtful to kings and provinces, and that sedition was stirred up in it from of old. That is why this city was laid waste. We make known to the king that if this city is rebuilt and its walls finished, you will then have no possession in the province beyond the river. So kind of a slanted stop because they're going to be rebellious towards you.
Yeah. The king sent an answer to Rehum the commander and Shimshai the scribe and the rest of their associates who live in Samaria and in the rest of the province beyond the river, greeting. And now, the letter that you sent to us has been plainly read before me. And I made a decree, and search has been made, and it has been found that this city from of old has risen against kings, and that rebellion and sedition have been made in it. And mighty kings have been over Jerusalem, who ruled over the whole province beyond the river, to whom tribute, custom, and toll were paid. Therefore, make a decree that these men be made to cease, and that this city be not rebuilt until a decree is made by me. And take care not to be slack in this matter. Why should damage grow to the hurt of the king?
Then when the copy of King Artaxerxes' letter was read before Rehum and Shimshai the scribe and their associates, they went in haste to the Jews at Jerusalem, and then by force and power made them cease. Then the work on the house of God that is in Jerusalem stopped, and it ceased until the second year of the reign of Darius, king of Persia. And that's what we read in Ezra and Nehemiah, is just they're trying to rebuild Jerusalem and go through trials and troubles and resistance from the locals and resistance from people. They don't want this city being built.
Yeah, and I just think about these exiles who came back, and I'm sure they went back very hopeful and excited. I mean, we read about their joy and rejoicing at the end of chapter 3, and I just think how discouraging it must have been. And I would think here, after this decree from Artaxerxes, they probably just thought it was over. Like, this is never going to happen. And now they're stuck in Jerusalem without a temple and a city and unprotected. And so
just moving back was not all roses.
No.
Okay?
And it was a long time until anything changed.
Yep. Okay, we'll continue the story tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.